Yo, champs in the making. It's been a while since I uploaded, but I am back with a sweet idea for a series that I'm going to be focusing my efforts on for the foreseeable future. A new series where in each video I talk about a resource that I've used while learning Japanese. And I'm not talking about 10-minute deconstructions of Duolingo or comparing beginner textbooks. I'm talking about real stuff. Native muke no contents. Content made for native speakers, that is. Like games, manga, anime, the things that you actually want to engage with. I'm going to dive into like, what level Japanese do you need to enjoy this? What did I learn from it? And is it fun? And spoiler alert, some of the stuff I want to cover was too difficult for me to truly benefit from. But I'm going to talk about it anyway because I know I'm not the only person out there that had that moment where they said to themselves, oh, I bet if I watch like every episode of Naruto in Japanese with no subtitles, I'll eventually pick it up. But today is one of those days where I want to talk about something I can understand, and something I did learn from, and something that is fun. And it's probably a great deal many of you guys first experienced with a Japanese media phenomenon, and it's Pokemon, the video game series. And I'm loosely covering them all because honestly they're much of a muchness. They're all fairly accessible from a language learning perspective, so let's get started. So starting with the question, what level Japanese do you need to play Pokemon in Japanese? And the obvious answer is the more you know the better, and the better time you're going to have with it. I would guess my level is probably somewhere around scraping a pass in a JLPT N2. I don't personally care for taking the JLPTs, I have no intention on taking them, but that's roughly where it is. And I can understand the majority of all of these games without issue. But here's the thing, I actually started playing them when I was studying N4 level textbooks, like Genki 2, that sort of thing, and it was incredibly productive, and here's why. Most of us already know how a Pokemon game works. You pick a buddy, you walk from town to town catching mons, beating up children's pets, you compete in the league, and the credits roll. Somewhere in the middle of all of that, there's usually a team of bad guys in goofy outfits and throwaway dialogue that we never really read, and you kick their butts too. And the thing I just said about not reading the dialogue as a kid, that's exactly why this is a great game. When you were 7 playing Pokemon Blue, you didn't sit there reading every line of dialogue when you were fighting a Team Rocket grunt. You skip through it, you mash that A button. And what that means is if you miss a sentence, the chances of it ruining your immersion are close to zero. You just carry on like you did when you were a kid. Same with battles. If you're a fan of the games, you know where the runaway button is on the battle screen. It's in the bottom right corner. So if you didn't know that in Japanese, flee or run away was nigeru, you can very quickly figure that out and intuit it from your muscle memory while you're playing the game. That's a great way of picking up new vocab in this game. Now, one thing to note, the earlier games are Kana only, which is gonna be a double-edged sword. I personally think that having the kanji makes things easier to understand. I bet a lot of you have seen this sentence before, but if you haven't, take this as an example. This says, niwa niwatori ga iru, which means, in the garden, there are 2 chickens. But let's have a look at the same sentence again now, using only kana. Niwa tori ga iru. It's way harder to read, even if you don't necessarily know all the kanji. Now, I'm not necessarily saying pick a game that's got kanji in it, because for every example like the one I just showed you, there's a counter example. If you've never seen the word kekenshi before, which means experience points, seeing the kanji for it isn't going to do a lot to help you either. Seeing the pronunciation of it first in kana may make it a lot easier to digest later in kanji, and none of the Pokemon games, to my knowledge, have hiragana. So what I want to do now is just go on like a little unscripted walk around the village in Pokemon and show you how your preconceptions and your memory of the game helps you figure out what's going on. It's one of those games, if you've played it before, you already know what's going to happen a lot of the time, and it's going to help. So I already know when I talk to the nurse in the Pokemon Center that they're going to ask if I want to rest my Pokemon and heal them up, and I say yes, and then they say that they're all better, thank you. So with that information, this should be even easier to dissect what's happening. お疲れ様です。Pokemon Center です。Hey, this is the Pokemon Center. You must be tired. ここではポケモンの体力回復をします。See, that might be a harder sentence, I guess, if you're around N4. I think it would be easier with kanji because the ryoku in tairyoku is the same kanji as chikara, which means power or strength, right? And I think if you had some conception of that, it would help you understand. So it basically says, here you can recover your Pokemon's physical health. あなたのポケモンを休ませてあげますか? So 休ませて is to like allow to rest or give a rest to, and obviously あげますか is like the conjugation for giving to something. So it's like, do you want to give your Pokemon a rest? Yes. それではお預かりいたします。お待ちどうさま。お預かりしたポケモンはみんな元気になりました。またのご利用をお待ちしています。So, your Pokemon have become well. 元気になりました。So, if you'd have just seen that in a stream of Kana, of hiragana, you might have missed it. But because you know this is about like wellness and getting well, it's a lot easier to pick out words like genki ni naru, to become well, and then that internalize it, and then all of a sudden you're consuming native content. This is why I think it's such a great game. We can try and do something else as well, like a bit less scripted. Like, let's have a look at what's going on around this village. I suppose the shop is the next most common thing. Like, what does this dude say? Welcome. お買い物ですね. Okay, keeping it really simple. So 買いに来た, and the fact that it's even got the little space in the middle makes this a lot easier to parse. 買いに来た, come to buy. 売りに来た, come to sell. なんでもないです. It's nothing. I didn't want anything. And a lot of these repetitive interactions are going to form 30 or 40% of what you do in the whole game. Right, let's go somewhere else and do something that isn't an everyday interaction. Okay, so let's not go in the house. Let's talk to this guy because I think in the game this blocks you from going on. I can't remember what they say. It says, こっちに入らないでくれよ. So hey, like don't come into here. 珍しいポケモンの足跡を発見したんだ. So rare Pokemon ashes that footprint or 発見したんだ. I discovered some rare Pokemon's footprints. スケッチが終わるまで待っててくれよ. So sketchy, I've never seen that word before, but it almost definitely means sketch, right? And then 終わるまで until I finished. 待っててくれよ. Like, please wait until I finished sketching it. So it just so happened that I knew what was going on there. But let's say you didn't know what was going on there. You know you can't go in there yet, and maybe you picked up some of it. Let me just trigger that cutscene again. Maybe you saw 入らないで, like don't come in. Rare Pokemon, something something something. 待っててくれよ. Wait, please wait. If I only took 40% of that, I know it says like, hey, don't come in here, rare Pokemon, wait. It doesn't matter that you don't know he's found rare Pokemon footprints and that he's drawing them. You just go, oh, he's telling me I can't go there because of something to do with a rare Pokemon. And that's that. It doesn't stop you playing the game. That's why this is so good. Like, I could show examples like this all day, which I'm obviously not going to do. So from this game, you are going to learn two important different things. First up is the bread and butter of many turn-based JRPGs, like the words for attack, defense, experience points, level, speed, all the fundamental vocab that will carry over to so many JRPGs. Like, after playing this, picking up Final Fantasy, it was crazy how many words I was like, oh, I know this from Pokemon. That's one good thing, that if you're into JRPGs, if that's something you want to focus your studies on, this is a gateway for it. The next thing is a bunch of fairly easy, low stakes interactions with NPCs, like them telling you about their favorite Pokemon or their favorite food or giving you directions or telling you something's open or closed, something like that. Obviously, you will not learn the names of all the moves in the Pokemon battles. You'll remember a few of them, and that doesn't matter. You'll passively learn a bunch of Pokemon names, which is totally useless, unless you like talking about Pokemon, which I do. As for whether it's fun, I can't tell you that. If you don't like Pokemon, if you don't like turn-based games, if you don't like retro games, this is obviously going to be boring. But if you do, and you play through a single one and you've enjoyed it and you've got something from it, you've just unlocked 1,000 hours worth of consumable content from over 9 generations, like 25 years worth of games. That's you set. In terms of the best generation for learning, that depends on where you are, what hardware you have, and your allegiance to the Church of Nintendo. Picking up a copy of Pokemon Crystal, for example, is now £200 in the UK or $250 in Freedom Units. Or it's a very quick and painless trip to one of the dark corners of the internet, but I will not comment on that any further. And buying a Japanese copy is an even bigger potential obstacle. From Gen 6 onwards, each version of Pokemon is distributed with multi-language support. But before that, if you want to play Nihongo De, you have to pick up a Japanese copy of the game, and you will not find one of those at GameStop in the States or CEX in the UK. If you have total freedom, I think Gen 1 is a great place to start because it was made in an era where game cartridges didn't have enough memory to hold a convincing narrative, so you can truly treat every interaction as an opportunity to understand something and just move on and feel at peace if you didn't understand it. And in terms of Kana versus kanji, that depends where your strengths are. Are you primarily learning through reading? Then kanji is probably the better answer. For me it was. I learned Chinese before I learned Japanese, so it was much easier for me to pick that up. But maybe you're learning through speaking and listening and surrounding yourself with Japanese media, then maybe Kana is better for you. Maybe you're used to hearing things more than you are seeing them on paper. I think Gen 5 is probably the sweet spot because in Pokemon Black and White, and I don't know if it's also true in Black and White 2, I believe it's not, but Pokemon Black and White, you can go to an NPC in the first town and just change between Kana and kanji whenever you want. So you could play the first few gyms in Kana while you understand all the words, and then switch over to kanji and contextualize them. So is this the right game for you? I'm gonna probably say yes. If you have a solid upper N5, lower N4 understanding, by which I mean you can make a basic sentence, you know your particles, and playing a JRPG is an ongoing goal for you, then this is a great gateway for that. You'll pick up some core gaming terms, you won't find yourself lost if the language ramps up. It really is one of the best places to start in terms of gaming in your target language. And for later generations, from what I said above about them being multi-language support, it might even be a good gateway for other languages too. Now this is caveated by some of the things I've already said. An absence of furigana, the absence of voiceovers, even in the latest versions of Pokemon, and a lot of game-specific terms like in battles that I would not recommend making a conscious effort to remember. I'm not giving scores out of 10 in these videos, but I am giving it a thumbs up and encouraging anyone that hasn't tried it yet to try it. Taking super special care to follow the piracy laws of your country and the terms and services issued by Daddy Nintendo. And that wraps up everything I wanted to say about these games, so thanks for hanging in this long if you did. I don't have it in me to say things like and subscribe, I'm far too awkward for that, but if you have 30 seconds that you could take out of your day to give me some constructive criticism on this and tell me what you think could be done better, what worked, what didn't work. I'm looking to improve the quality of these as I go along. This is all new to me. I'm not somebody who's naturally good at making videos. I learn languages. That's what I like doing. So please help me be better and I can make better content for you to enjoy. Thank you very much and see you in the next one.